Morning, everybody. I'm Lisa Perrin, CEO of Endemol of Creative Networks Endemol Shine Group. And amongst other things, I'm responsible for boosting the global non-scripted and scripted pipeline of Endemol Shine, and also I'm across all the international rollouts of our new formats. I'm thrilled that Kate Phillips, Controller of Entertainment Commissioning at BBC, is here. She's a friend, and I think she's rather wonderful. Kate's responsible for entertainment commissioning across all BBC television channels, BBC iPlayer and BBC Three. And that's maintaining the success of current shows as well as finding future hits. Her slate is pretty enormous, I have to say. Listed here, hits such as Strictly Come Dancing, The Apprentice, Dragon's Den, Top Gear, and massive national events, including Children Need and the Eurovision Song Contest. It's a big brief. How do you think your previous roles helped you doing this job? I mean, because you were in BBC Worldwide, you've been head of development, I know, with Karen back in the day, you've been in production. How do you think that informed and has helped you doing this?
I think I never had a strategy in television. I'm sure no one here does. You sort of go from job to job, and every time I've taken a job, I've wanted to learn more. It's like, oh, I don't know that area. I want to find out more about it. So I think the fact that I started as a runner and worked my way up to a producer, did all the sort of crappy jobs in the early days, and then the sort of big exciting jobs producing big live entertainment television. I then ran my own indie for 5 years with two great friends, and that was sort of, you know, scary stuff. Can we pay the mortgage each month? Literally trying to get the commissions and keep it going, keep the cash flow going. And I went from being quite a, you know, the BBC, I was like, I'm not going to produce that, I don't like that. And when you're running your own indie, you're like, I'll do anything. You know, we just need the commission. So I was suddenly execing shows I'd never done before there. And then I ran development teams, and then I went to channel, and I was a channel exec at BBC One, BBC Three, so I learned how channels were run, how scheduling, marketing, budgeting, all that works. And then at Worldwide, learning much more about the international market and helping Worldwide sell their massive catalogue of formats, scripted and non-scripted. So I think as a result, doing this job now, I've seen it from all sides. I see how the entertainment industry works. I feel passionately about entertainment and how important it is for the future health of television going forward. And I think that I've walked the walk, if you like. So I know what it's like when the small indies come in, when the big indies come in, when I'm doing things like this and meeting all the distributors.
It's interesting you were saying about entertainment being the lifeblood of channels. I know that you genuinely believe that.
Absolutely.
But it's come under a lot of criticism recently, and you as commissioners have come under a lot of criticism, saying that you're not brave enough and people are sort of not taking enough risks. Yeah. What would you say to that?
I just think, well, I think balls, really. I mean, for me, I think that as a public service broadcaster, the BBC is, we have to take risks. You know, we're not a commercial channel. We can properly try things out. And I think I've taken a lot of risks since I started. And I have a team who feel passionately about new ideas. And when I started the job about a year and a half ago now, we put over 50 ideas into paid development on all levels, from sort of big fully funded pilots to taster tapes to casting tapes to sizzles, and worked very much hand in hand with the indies of all sizes in sort of bringing those shows to life. And I will always take risks. I will always commission from paper, from tape, from whatever grabs us, and that won't stop.
And you feel that's a real kind of directive from you and working with Charlotte as well?
Yeah.
Ploughing that field, trying to find the next big
Definitely, and Charlotte is very supportive, as the channel teams are, and there's nothing that gets me more excited than a new idea that it feels very distinctive and sort of fresh. And I get so excited about entertainment and new ideas, and I sort of was thinking about it. I think it's almost like in my long gone past when I sort of fancied a bloke or had a new boyfriend. You kind of have this thing where you sort of fall in love with a person and you think about them all the time. Not that I was a sort of mad stalker or anything, but you know, when you're young, that's what it's like. And it's the same with entertainment formats. When someone comes to me with an idea And then I do sort of fall in love with the idea, and I start thinking about it all the time. And I sort of ring the commissioners on my team and say, what if we did this with it? And as soon as I'm doing that, I know I'm excited about it and engaged about it.
I guess this is a good time for us to talk about All Together Now.
Yes.
Should we show the clip first?
Yes. Yeah.
Can we see the clip, please?
This is our new singing show that was on earlier this year.
Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, but those big wheels keep on turning. Oh, we're proud, Mary, keep on burning. Rolling, hey, rolling, yeah, rolling on the river. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I left a good job in the city, hey, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost a minute in sleeping, worry about the way things might have been. Big wheels keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning. Rolling,
He's coming up first ever 100. He's won away. Wow, he's done 100.
I'm rolling on the river.
Everyone was up on their feet.
How can you not love that? I mean, it's just great, joyful television.
And it's been really positive working with you with Remarkable on
Yeah.
on that show. What slots? I know what slots that's gone into. Well, what slots are you working for you, and where are you looking for new shows?
Well, I would just say on that as well, just very quickly, that was pitched as a paper treatment. That was literally, they came in with a side of A4 and said, we've got this show where you haven't got a panel of judges, you've got 100 people, and basically, if you like the song, you stand up and sing along. And as always, it's that rule of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. You know, you can sell that in a you know exactly what that is in a sentence, and it was a point of difference. It wasn't a panel of judges, it was 100 judges, and immediately I could sort of see it, and I could see how big it could be. So we were looking for big Saturday night shows at that time, and I thought it could work on a Saturday night. I thought it had that kind of BBC sort of heart and warmth, but also it felt fresh and funny and distinctive. And we're always going to be looking for big Saturday night shows, and that continues. We've got stuff commissioned for next year now, but now we're looking at 2020 because it takes a good year and a half to get these shows sort of up and running. So I am sort of slot focused. I would say that I don't want to be really slot focused. I still want people to bring ideas that doesn't actually fit a model. So we've got a new show starting in a couple of weeks called The Button from Avalon, which I absolutely love. And it's 5 families in their homes playing against each other in real time. And there's a button in their living room. And when the button flashes, they have to hit it. And then they have to do the challenge that comes on screen. And it's who can do it quickest and most accurately. And when they pitched that to us, we thought, well, it's not quite a sort of Saturday night show because it's in people's homes. And, you know, it doesn't really feel like it would be on BBC Two. It feels like a BBC One show, but we haven't really got the slots. But I just said to Charlotte, I absolutely love it, and she agreed. So I said, let's just commission it, and then we'll worry about where to put it, because it was the idea we believed in.
So obviously now the BBC is in competition with the big SVODs. Netflix announced that they will spend $8 billion on 700 original shows this year. How are you and the BBC competing with those big players?
It's a big topic of MIP this year, isn't it? The sort of the FANG. I would say, I mean, look, of course they are competition. On one point of view, I think it's brilliant that there are people putting this amount of money into our industry and commissioning new things. And I see so many people starting up indies and desperate for commissions. And of course, we don't have enough slots to sort of feed everyone. So from a point of view of my friends who are running indies, I think, great, there's another outlet where they can get things commissioned, and that's really good. I think in the factual entertainment space, they're definitely tough competition. I mean, you look at things like like Queer Eye. I love Nailed It, which is really is my sort of baking history laid bare when I look at Nailed It. And I just think that, you know, these are really good fact-tent shows. And I think the reason they work on those platforms is because you tend to binge factual entertainment. Well, I do, you know, and I like watching things like Hunted on Channel 4, I love, and I would watch sort of 3 episodes in a row of that. So, but I think in terms of our big Saturday night plays, I don't see them as so much competition, because I think I sort of always look at those big Saturday night shows and think of them like sporting events. You know, when you have a big sporting event, it's a live, shared experience. It's everyone coming together to watch it, and you don't know what's going to happen. You're literally see it play out in front of you. No one knows what's going to happen. And that's what it's like with a big sort of talent show. You know, you're sitting there and you're sort of watching it together, and then you're sort of waiting for the result, and then you go into work the next day or wherever, and everyone's sort of talking about it, and then you're waiting for next week, and what will they do next week. And I think those sort of big special appointment to view television pieces sit very well on terrestrial channels, and I think will continue to do so. I mean, Strictly last year we had our highest ratings ever. You know, America's Got Talent the same last year had huge ratings. So these big shows are still delivering, and I think that they need to sit on a terrestrial channel.
Are the SVODs changing your editorial decisions in any way? I mean, you've been doing this job for 18 months now. So you came in with one view. I'm sure your view is different. How has that changed over that time?
For me, I don't think they've really changed my editorial decision. I think on BBC Three, where obviously we do look at fact-tent formats, I'm sort of aware that if I see something I really like, we probably have to move quicker on it, so it sort of doesn't go elsewhere. And, you know, we know that elsewhere they will get bigger budgets, so it's sort of what can we offer them that they won't get on Netflix and Amazon, and often it's a rights thing in a very sort of basic way. It's like the BBC people hold on to their rights when they bring us their shows. So, but yeah, I think we do sort of act a bit quicker in that space now. I would see, though, one of the lessons I've learned since I've started this job, though, is it's sort of going against that really, is not to rush things to air too soon. I think that's one thing I've learned, is that take your time, pilot it, sort of try it out. You know, it's tricky because obviously Netflix, Amazon, they don't have scheduled slots, so they can just wait for something, whereas we've got these slots we need to fill. So that's why I'm really determined to start the development process as soon as possible, so that I can sort of really learn our mistakes off camera. So by the time we go to camera, although every first series is a pilot series, we still feel that we've done as much as we can before we sort of hit the airways and everyone's out there judging it.
As the BBC and you, are you committed to growing brands in terms of for entertainment?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an area we really need to sort of keep focusing on. I mean, ITV in the UK has got these massive monster hits throughout the year, you know, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Britain's Got Talent, sort of Takeaway, The Voice, X Factor, you know, the big shows throughout the year, and we are always going to come up against them. That's our big competition. So I really want to sort of grow new shows now that in sort of 5-10 years' time could become the new sort of Voice or the new BGT or whatever. That's really important, and that's why it's important to stick with a show, and why, you know, going back to All Together now, we sort of learnt an awful lot doing Series 1, but we all loved it and believe in it and want to sort of bring it back and grow it.
Is this part as well for you, trying to kind of capture that core younger audience as well?
Yes, yeah, I think the shared viewing thing, again, I think is really important, and it's so tough with a younger audience. You know, I mean, I've got children. I've got a 15-year-old son who's like, Mom, I'm not going to watch anything on television. I'm like, thank you very much. Television is actually paying for the clothes on your back, you know, but it's like, it's like, why would I, you know? And then he really irritates me, so I just rant about my son now, my 15-year-old son, because he just watches Netflix. He goes, oh, Mom, Netflix is so good. It's really good, Netflix. And I was like, it is, but Peep Show that you're watching was on Channel 4. You know, Happy Valley that you're watching was on the BBC. A lot of content on Netflix and Amazon started on television, but he would never watch it on television, but he'll watch it on Netflix. And you just want to give him a good slap, really, but sadly you can't. So It is about that.
But that's just about him
Sorry,
revising
everyone.
Kate.
Is that, sort of, that'll be the headline, sort of controller, entertainment abuses, social services. But there is that. It is that sort of, you literally, I find myself going to the children, we will watch television tonight as a family, and it's trying to find things that they do actually want to watch. And there is stuff out there, but it's hard sort of bringing them to it.
It's important to you to find that audience and capture them.
Yeah, it is. And it's important to me as a parent that we do actually do some things together and watch some things together. Yeah.
So we're running out of time. I could sit here all day chatting. We probably will afterwards. Yeah. What has been on another channel that you wish you had commissioned? It's kind of the one you got away that you love watching. You wish you had commissioned it, and every time you watch it, you think, "Oh, I should have that."
I mean, I love so many shows on other channels. I would literally, I love my job. I sort of watch television. Hunted, which I mentioned before, I thought was a brilliant way of sort of moving on that sort of on-the-run sort of fact-tent format and doing it in a documentary style. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I think Britain's Got Talent on ITV is great, and it's just a huge sort of feel-good celebration, and the variety you can get in those acts are great. I would say that internationally, there are some brilliant formats out there as well that I watch a lot of international formats, and having worked in that market, I think in the UK there is this kind of snobbery that the UK does it best and we come up with the best formats. And of course the BBC UK and people working for our channels have that heritage, but I do see a lot of great international formats, often made for a fraction of the price, that are really well done, and I've sort of learned, so I look outside as well. But so far there's been nothing recently which I can't think of anything that I sort of wish I commissioned so far, but I'm sure they'll come out. Every commissioner dreads their sort of Beatles moment when they've turned something down. But often I see shows and I think they're really good, but they're not quite right for the BBC, and then I do see them thrive on other channels, and that's fine, that's good.
Do you think that public broadcasting sensibility obviously limits what you can and can't develop and buy? Do you feel it limiting, or do you think there's a freedom in that?
I think more of a freedom. I mean, there's certain, we're talking about young audiences. Love Island was huge in the UK. We couldn't do Love Island on the BBC. It just wouldn't sort of sit as well there. But, we have The Apprentice, which is another massive fact-temp format dominated by young people. So I think it's just thinking of different ways to do them on the BBC. But yeah, there are certain things we wouldn't do. And I don't want to copy too much. And, heritage formats, we've just brought back the Generation game, which rated really well last weekend. And but I'm always going to be limited as how many of those old formats I bring back, because I want to try fresh, new things. And I think that's something as a public service broadcaster we need to do. And whether that's big physical game shows like sort of Wedding Day Winners, or singing shows like All Together Now, or a big new dance show we've got, The Greatest Dancer, we're just going to keep trying new ideas.
And do you measure success purely on the ratings?
You're certainly always waiting for those overnights. I mean, my weekends are just gone now. Sunday morning, 9:37, when the ratings come in, it's a killer. You do look at that. I think when we're talking to the channel, we're looking a lot at Live plus 7, so we do look at it over 7, and Live plus even, 4 weeks now, 28 days. So, but yeah, the ratings do, but it's also the breakdown within the ratings. It's does it appeal to young? Does it appeal to underserved audiences? So it's not just one simple figure dictates all.
And the SVODs is obviously skewing that somewhat as well with the catch-up.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so we have to sort of bet, and I think that is going to be more of a pattern going forward. So for me, it's about the sort of catch-up. Yeah.
This is my last question. So what do you think the external perception of the BBC is, and how do you think entertainment plays into that, and what you're doing plays into that?
External, as in
your viewers, or the international market as well?
I don't know, actually. I'm interested to see what people think. I mean, I think when the BBC had its sort of charter renewed recently, there was a debate at one point about should the BBC be doing entertainment, which for me was just such a ridiculous thing to even say. Well, I would say that, but it is ridiculous, because entertainment, has the biggest numbers of the year come from entertainment shows on the whole. So I think the idea that the BBC should be doing documentaries and news and little else, and sort of high quality dramas is nonsense. So I would hope that we're sort of changing the perception of the BBC. You know, it is, BBC One always says it's about bringing the nation together, and it is the most watched, most popular channel in the UK. And I think a large part of that is down to entertainment, but maybe entertainment doesn't sort of get the credit. You know, it's the way at the Oscars, you never get a funny movie nominated for Best Oscar, do you? It's always the serious one about someone with one lung or dying or something. You know, it's always the serious stuff that gets the Oscar. And it's the same in entertainment. You know, when you look at the sort of big awards, there aren't many entertainment categories. And I just think, you know, embrace the broad, embrace the joy of entertainment. I absolutely love it, and I will always believe passionately in it.
Thank you so much for coming this morning and sharing your thoughts. We could literally stay here all day, but the time is up. And please put your hands together and say thank you to Kate for coming along.
Thank you.